Why should cyclists stay off the road? So we are a week out from the Tour de Palm Springs, and with that, some memories are popping up to my surface of my mind, and I decided I wanted to share my story of the time I did my first century ride. I rode my bike 100 miles in one day. I remember how excited I was for this day. I was only cycling for 4 months at this one point, so one of my best friends in Vegas convinced me to do it with her and a group of friends. So we all rented a big Airbnb house together and ventured down to Palm Springs, ready for an amazing experience. I'm not going to lie, this experience was amazing until it wasn't. Here is a live video I posted that day. So it turned out to be one of the most exciting days. Actually, it took a devastating turn. I'm halfway through almost, and about 17 miles ago, a car came flying probably 100 miles an hour around a cyclist, tried to swerve around a car and came back. I don't know what he was thinking, but I just saw 2 cyclists get crushed in front of me. So this message is super important. Slow it down, share the road. I know you guys motorists hate sharing the road with cyclists, but it's the law, and no amount of complaining is going to change the fact it's the law. 1 minute of wasted time for you could save a life, and possibly 2 today. 2 seconds later, it would have been me. I'm gonna finish this race. I have 47 more miles to go, but it's gonna be hard because I'm just not really in the mood anymore. But I'll keep posting pictures and I'll try to stay positive. All right, I love you all. Be safe. So here is the full story of exactly what I saw that day. So the group of friends I went down to Palm Springs with, we all started the ride out together, and I have this tendency to want to go really fast and see how fast they can do things. So even though the Tour de Palm Springs isn't a race, I just decided to push myself and see how good I could do. And the friends I was with were actually more laid back, and they just wanted to enjoy the rides and see the sights. So I kind of left them behind me and I just took off. And then at one point I was coming up to a group of about 20 cyclists, and I was getting ready to pass them, but this was out, I think, in like Coachella Valley. Indio Hills is where it was exactly, and it was just a 2-lane road with burns, big dirt burns on each side, and there was a little pickup truck that was actually passing all the cyclists, and it was half in the one lane and half in the incoming traffic lane. So it was going slow, probably about 35 miles per hour, passing with care. And so I was getting ready to catch the cyclist and pass them, but then I heard someone coming from behind, some car, and I could tell it was just going way too fast. And so I thought to myself, well, something bad is about to happen. Ooh, so I stopped or slowed down, and I was like, okay, I'll let him pass first. And he went flying past me probably like 100 miles an hour and didn't even try to stop or hit his brakes or anything for that pickup truck. He just tried to swerve around the truck to avoid it. And luckily he swerved left, so he didn't hit me or any of the other cyclists on the right. And he hit the burn, went off the road, hit the burn, and lost complete control of his car, and that pushed him back over in front of the truck. So he totally went around and missed the truck, but then he crashed into that group of cyclists. And I remember I was only like maybe 20 feet behind them, and I couldn't see anything because there was just so much dirt in the air. And so I just slammed on my brakes and got off my bike, and as the dust was like settling down on all of us, I could see I was standing in front of this lady that was hit. And there were like 2 guys trying to pick her up, and her face was all bloody and she could barely breathe. And I was just yelling at the guys, no, don't move her till the paramedics get here. And they're like, no, we're just trying to help her breathe. And this poor lady could barely breathe at all. And then I saw maybe about 15 feet away was a guy, and there was probably about 5 cyclists huddled over him trying to revive him, and I just knew he was dead instantly. And then the kid, the 21-year-old kid who was high and had alcohol in his system, that was driving 100 miles an hour. He had a suspended license because he was pulled over 4 times the previous year for reckless driving. So he wasn't even supposed to be on the road. 21-year-old kid gets out of his car and there's 3 cyclists like screaming at him to stay the F in the car so the cops get here. So everything was pretty much under control, and the 21-year-old kid, he was just, I remember him with his hands on top of his head screaming and crying and asking for his mom, and just destroyed his life and killed someone else, and possibly the lady too. I did find out that lady is going to be fine and she had a full recovery. I don't know if she's riding her bike anymore or not, but so anyway, after I realized everything was kind of being handled, I went out to the road and yelled for doctors or paramedics. Anybody, like, as the cyclist came in, because there was thousands of people doing this ride that day. And so when a doctor finally caught up to us, she's like, I'm a doctor, and I'm like, hurry. As soon as I saw she was with the woman and 2 of my friends had caught up, I realized, like, there's nothing I can do, so I just took off and started riding. And I remember in that moment, like, everything, like, was just not fine, but I wasn't in shock. Maybe I was in shock, I don't know, but everything was kind of in control. I wasn't freaking out or anything, but I started riding my bike, and I think I got about 7 miles down the road before it just all hit me, and I remember just, like, started sobbing on my bike. I just realized, like, I probably just witnessed someone doing what we all love, die. And so I rode another 17 miles till I got to the next aid station, and that's where I made that live video.
We're told one other cyclist was seriously hurt. The driver was also taken to the hospital. Witnesses say the car was going at least 100 miles an hour along the route when it lost control. The cyclists were about 3 hours into the 100-mile ride.
When I came back home from Palm Springs, I was clearly in shock for a while, and a friend of mine told me I should find someone to talk to, which I didn't actually do, but I did take her advice into consideration, and I just told anyone who would listen what happened. It was hard at first to tell the story. I would get super anxious, my voice would get all high and squeaky, I would talk fast and loud, and sometimes I would even get teary-eyed. Eventually, the more I told the story, the easier it got. So now most of the time when I talk about it, it's just sort of like describing a scene in a movie. It doesn't have a huge effect on me anymore. Today might be a little bit of an exception though, just because I'm potentially telling the whole world a story. But I think it's important for people to hear things like this, because we all hear about the people dying, but we never think about those who witnessed it and who are still living and how they cope. I still think about 49-year-old Mark Kristofferson, who was one of thousands participating in the event that day, but he was the one who lost his life doing something that brings us all joy. What about his 2 children he left behind? I hope time made their loss easier. But despite this scary event, do you know why I still ride my bike on the road? It's for the same reason there was only one thing that could stop Kobe Bryant from playing ball. Cycling is what I love to do, and only one thing will be able to take that away from me. And every time I'm out riding, I expect that one thing to happen. I'm constantly looking over my shoulder when I hear a car coming up behind me. I will go out of my way to avoid the busy streets as much as possible, even if they have bike lanes, and very rarely do I ride my bike from home because I live in the middle of the city. I will drive my bike somewhere safer to start my ride elsewhere. I also do the same when I run. I never go into the crosswalk when I have the right of way until I make sure no cars are coming from any direction too fast to stop when they are actually supposed to and give me my right of way. Too often people are dying in crosswalks. It's ridiculous and makes me sad and angry. Seems sad to always be expecting death when you head out to do something you love. That should actually be pretty safe. That's the way it is because we have to share the road with cars. And people don't understand that cars are weapons that need to be respected. Did you know that in America, based on numbers from 2018, 17 pedestrians and 2 cyclists are killed every day in traffic accidents? And worldwide, about 1.3 million people die each year in traffic accidents, including about 40,000 of those happening in America. This averages out to about 3,287 deaths per day due to distracted drivers and reckless driving. It just really bothers me because it's not just a cyclist on the road problem. It's a problem with the way we drive and our perceptions on what it means to be able to drive. Most people don't understand driving is a privilege and not a right. We spend so much time fighting about guns that are a result of about 15,000 deaths per year, minus the suicides, but aren't even talking about the #1 killer weapon we all have, something we allow even 16-year-old children to have, a 4,000 or more pound vehicle that can crush someone in an instant because the driver looked away for a second when they hear a text come in on their phone. I was interviewed for an article after the Palm Springs incident. The link is in the description if you're interested in reading. It was titled, "Why is it so hard to charge motorists with murder?" The one line in the article that stands out to me the most is, "The easiest way to kill someone and get away with a slap on the wrist is to make sure your weapon is a car." It's sad because it's true. Don't get me wrong, I can see it from both sides. There are a lot of douchey cyclists out there too. Take for example this group.
Must obey the rules of the road.
No attempt to stop at a stop sign.
Right through the four-way stop. It happens again. And at Stevenson Highway and number 5 Road, they appear to own it. We hear cyclists complain about drivers.
What happened to too wide there, guys? And yes, you can take a whole lane for yourselves if that's the safest way, but not the whole road. And what happened to sharing the road? The signs have both cyclists and cars in the photo. We have to share the road with each other. These guys are exactly why people want to see us get run over. With that being said though, even these buttheads have families that would miss them, and a 4,000-pound car versus a 15-pound bike, there will only be one winner there, and it's not going to be a good outcome for anyone involved. So basically, until infrastructure is improved across the country, we will have to share the road with each other. So instead of driving careless and angry, learn how to take a deep breath, slow down, pay attention, and obey the law. Share the road. And please never forget the 3 feet law that we must give all cyclists, even the douchebag ones. I know there are a lot out there, but I promise not to be one, so if you see me out riding my bike, please don't hit me. I have a sweet little boy to get back home to because he needs his mommy. If you agree with me, please feel free to subscribe and share this video so we can spread the message. Hopefully someday soon we can make the roads safer for everyone who uses them. Thank you so much for listening to my story, and please let me know in the comments if you have had any similar experiences. Also, you may reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. The links are in my description. I hope you all have a wonderful day and stay safe. Mwah.